There are two kinds of people in this world. Either you're doing things you know you shouldn't, or you're not doing things you know you should. Guess what? We're both. Hi, I'm Marcy Barker, life and business coach, aka your loving kick in the pants. This podcast is here to help you become accountable with aligned action and become boss-minded while growing a business without sacrificing what matters most. Let's dive in. Good morning, my beautiful people. Today on the podcast called Your Loving Kick in the Pants, we are taking a story from my new book, Becoming Boss-Minded. And first of all, shout out to the people who are even listening to this. I was at church and somebody's like, we were listening to your podcast this week. And I said, did I do a good job? Were you entertained? And he said, yes, they enjoyed it. So if you're back for more, thank you. Today, the story that we're going to talk about is writing copy that converts. Now, if you don't need this exact thing, I still encourage you to listen to this, because when you're talking about having a specific outcome that you need other people to help you fulfill, then being able to create something that converts people's decisions, that's like really, really important. So in the book, Becoming Boss-Minded, this story comes from marketing and messaging. So if you're listening to this, you know, you can get your multitasking on, but if you're in work mode, I encourage you to open up a tab and take some notes. So in this marketing and messaging chapter, there are 5 stories that go along with the 5 steps of the Becoming Boss-Minded framework. And the third step of the Boss-Minded framework is to find the edge. Now, finding the edge is stepping just beyond your comfort zone to grow. And this is not about jumping off the ledge. This is about taking the next best step to reach your goal. And when we're talking about messaging and marketing that converts people, you definitely have to help people get over the hump to actually pull out their pocketbook and spend money with you. So when we talk about marketing, I'm going to go through the book in how I wrote it, and there's going to be different points in here that I want to expand on, because when you guys, I don't know if you know this, but when you're writing a book, you actually cut a lot out. You might write a ton, and then when it gets edited, the editor's like, this is unnecessary, this is too much, or this is too long, or you're going to lose people's attention. And that's just the fact of writing a book. So the cool thing about turning my stories into podcast episodes is we can go a little bit deeper with this. So also, I have a friend, she's a friend, but she was also a client, and I was also a client of hers. And she was a copywriter. And I asked her, I saw her the other day, and I was like, how are you holding up in this AI era where everybody is a copywriter because they have AI, and everybody's a photographer because they have an iPhone? And she actually decided that she had to shift, because it is true, copywriting, I hate saying this, copywriting has become easier. It doesn't mean that you're better at it just because ChatGPT does it for you, but it does help you go a lot faster. So if you are in the business of trying to convince people of something, or making sales, or winning arguments, or anything like that, writing copy that converts, this story is going to help you do that. So with my friend, I asked her, how are you holding up? And she's like, no, I definitely have to shift. You definitely have to pivot, because people think they know everything. And just because you can do something fast doesn't mean you're good at it. Like I said, so this, as you listen or you take notes, I want you to just put your thinking cap on, and with your thinking cap, put the filter of your comfort zone and stepping out just a little bit, like dipping your toe and feeling the temperature of the water. You don't have to jump all the way in, but you do have to be willing to put your whole foot in. Okay, you start with your toe, put your foot in, then you might get up to the knee, and you start to realize, like, hey, these little changes that are making me push myself, they're not that bad. All right, so let's dive in. The very first thing you need is an attractive headline. And obviously, this is like your first hook. This is the first thing that people are going to see if they're scrolling on their phones. The attractive headline needs to call out who you're talking to, okay? So one example that I use is stick to your goals and break your business plateau. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people who come to me wanting my help, they feel stuck. Period. Like, people think, oh, I need a loving kick in the pants, and they do, but a lot of times they just need to tweak what they're doing, because you have a lot of the answers in you already, but it just takes a little bit of, hey, let me help you break through that plateau by telling you to stop doing something that you're doing or start doing something that you're not doing. And the process of the accountability code helps us get there. So next you need a subtitle, and you could probably take the words I just said and put those into ChatGPT and say, give me a subtitle on breaking your business plateaus, because I broke it down a little bit more. So a subtitle, now I'm going to read exactly what it says in the book, because a subtitle is meant to be one sentence. It's not meant to be a whole long paragraph. So title, stick to your goals and break your business plateau. Subtitle, without feeling burnt out or overwhelmed. Now, this is just an example. Burnt out and overwhelmed can be very generalized and it can be very overused. But if we're talking about sticking to your goals and breaking your business plateaus, the second that somebody says burnt out or overwhelmed, they're like, oh yeah, I've tried breaking through my business plateaus, but it is exhausting. It is so exhausting, and I've tried so many things and I just don't know if I can keep it up. So your subtitle gives the reader a little bit more context, okay? Once the context is there, your reader gets to decide if it applies to them or not. I am the kind of reader that reads everything. So even if it's not completely on spot with me, I'm still going to read until I have enough evidence that it's not for me. So the next step is going to be connection and understanding. Now, connection and understanding, you only get the opportunity to connect and apply understanding if somebody wants to move forward with you, like I said. So right off the bat, you have to let them know that you understand what's been taking up their mental energy, and you have to make it clear that you have a solution to it. So my example, if I'm writing copy that converts, my example of providing understanding is, I write here, you've already had incredible success in your business, but deep down, you know you're capable of so much more. You're no newbie to the business world and have already hit massive milestones. From income goals to impact, you're proud of what you've achieved. But the problem, your business has hit a standstill. And without sugarcoating it, it's frustrating. Now, that's also a nice thing about reading this is like, I can say it in this podcast, but if somebody's reading it, it has to be able to hit them where it hurts. And when I say hit them where it hurts, it's not like we're trying to hurt them, but we want to help them know that these little vulnerable parts of them that hurt when they're poked, we understand what they are. And in my own example, with working with clients, this has been really interesting. I've had people who have signed up with me and I'm their very first ever business coach. And it was because of this emotional connection that they felt with me. And I tell my clients this, it's not like it's manipulation, but at the same time, it's like I poked you where it hurts. And that's why you want to move forward with me. But if I didn't poke you where it hurt, then one, you wouldn't get the solution that you needed. And two, you wouldn't know if I'm the right person for you. Because when people are making a decisions to move forward or not, they have to know. The faster they know if you're right for them, the better for both of you. Okay, now, if you get to the point where you've poked them where it hurts, the next thing is to give specific pain points, okay? So this is highlighting where they're dealing with their problems. And if you've got them where it hurts, like think of any injury that you've had. When somebody recognizes that it's there and they're going to agitate it with the hope of fixing it, you know, it's kind of like your mom will rinse out your cut or put something on it and it hurts more, it's going to sting more, but she's just trying to help you. This is what you have to do when you're converting people through copy or even a video. You have to show that you know what it feels like, okay? So here's what I put in mine. You're saying yes to more clients than you can handle, and you're completely swamped because you're unorganized. Ooh! You know you need to grow a team, but the thought of trusting others feels like a massive risk because you're used to doing it all yourself. You've hit a revenue ceiling and have no idea how to break through without putting in more hours or completely neglecting your family. You're scattered, putting out fires instead of making strategic moves to actually grow. Now, I put in 4 different examples, and that might be enough. You don't have to put in a ton of examples. You just have to be on the right track with what people's real pain points are. So when I am telling people like you're at a plateau, and it's not because you're not smart, it's just because you're avoiding doing the things that you know you should do, or you're not quite sure how to do them. So one thing that really hits a lot of my clients is unorganization, is that they think that if they just eventually got everything together, it would work. But the problem is when you stop doing what you're good at to do admin tasks of your business, then your workload grows. So it's very hard to find a moment to say, I'm putting my business on hold to take care of this other stuff. So it's kind of like this never ending cycle of like, I'm still trying to run my business, but it's kind of messy. And as I grow my business, there's a bigger mess to clean up. A lot of my clients come to me because they're like, I'm tired of doing that. And the accountability code and becoming boss minded, this is the framework in which I help people clear things out. So if somebody is still reading this, they're like, yes, please sign me up. That's what I'm dealing with exactly. Now, I have hit their little pain points. The next thing we have to do is clearly state the problem. Okay, so here is my example. There's a reason you're stuck. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're trying to do it all on your own. You've reached a point where more effort isn't the solution, and it's time to come clean with your inner voice. It's time to do something different. So this was me saying, oh, it's like this never-ending cycle of things getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, stop pretending that working harder is going to be the solution, because it's really not. So if you clearly state the problem, again, people are going to read your page or listen to your message and be like, yes, this is for me. Or they're like, nope, that's not for me. That's not how I'm feeling at all. Because really, you have to do a good job of attracting your exact person, or else you're going to attract a lot of people who are like wishy-washy, and then you're really confused why you have a whole email list or an audience who never buys from you. And it's just because you let them stick around even though they're not meeting the criteria for your solution. Okay? The next thing is present the solution and give it a name. You have to help them see the light at the end of the tunnel and help them see that there is a solution coming, that you're not just going to keep poking at their wounds and telling them that you understand. Like, let's get to the point so we can find resolution with our problems. So my example is, what you need is real accountability, support, feedback, and community to scale and hit your goals with ease and peace. With the right accountability, you'll follow through on your most important goals and stop wasting time on your distractions. That's exactly what you'll find up inside my coaching. So present the solution. In this book, I say Wake Up and Show Up Mastermind. That's my mastermind. And the cool thing about my mastermind is that everything they need for their solution is in there. Now, at this point in time, I've shifted just a little bit, and now we're doing group coaching because this is the season that I'm in. And that's the cool part about growing a business. You can literally change and decide and pivot, and this is what's happening next. So it doesn't matter which of my programs I'm working on, and when I'm writing my copy, if I'm true to my core message, which is accountability and follow through, then all of this is still going to work. With this, when you present the solution and give it a name, just know your names can change, okay? So if you're working on a specific product and you're like, crap, I don't have all of the details for this offer yet. You don't need all the details yet. But there needs to be a name holder or name place where people can say, that's something that I'm more interested in, so I'm going to contact this girl because I want more details, okay? Hey, my beautiful people. If you're loving these episodes, you'll want the full experience. I've bundled both of my books, The Accountability Code and Becoming Boss Minded, into one powerful package. You'll get instant access to the audiobooks and ebooks so you can learn and grow anytime, anywhere. Head to bossminded.com and grab the book bundle now. It's the perfect way to stay inspired between episodes. All right, let's dive back in. The next thing that you have to do is teach them how it's going to benefit them. Now, you might be like, well, if they're interested, of course they're going to see how it's going to benefit them. Well, sometimes when people are stuck in their problems, they're not really looking at the last outcome because their pain still hurts. Their problem still hurts. And the fact that you know their pain and you named it, that also kind of hurts them too. So next, you have to tell them the benefits. So in my example, I say you'll stay focused on the tasks that move the needle, and you'll learn to remove any expectations or distractions that aren't serving you. You won't be left by yourself to guess when tough decisions come up. No fluff, no beating around the bush, and no vague or surface level suggestions. So what this conveys to my potential client is that we're not here to waste time, and I'm not going to give you more tasks that are going to make your workload heavier. I'm going to straight up help you prioritize and get stuff done, and we're going to remove the mess so that growth and scaling in your business can happen. Now, that's a lot of the emotional part. We have called them out. We have given context, we have shown understanding, we have found their wounds and their pain points, we've poked them just a little bit, we've named them, and now we say, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, there's more, and here's a program, and here's what it's called. But for people like me who are very methodical and logistical. It's like, cool, you have my solution, but tell me how I'm actually going to partake in it. Okay. So next, in writing copy that converts, or even creating video, any sort of messaging or marketing, is program delivery. So you have to let them know, is this a live course? Is this online? Is it self-paced? Is it a cohort? What is it? In my example, I put personal calls to ensure I'm helping you stay aligned and focused, group calls to mastermind solutions to your next roadblocks, and access to a full database of business education and resources. So that right there helps people know, like, this is not a meet in person sort of thing. We're not going to come to my house. You're not coming to an office building, but this is calls, personal, with a group, and access to education that's going to help you move along, because you got to do the work. Okay. Next thing that's really important is testimonials. Okay. Testimonials or social proof is really important, because this is going to help the user recognize that people are partaking in this solution. This is not just something we made up and pulled out of our butt. It's like, no, this is actually a thing that's currently working for people, and it can work for you too. So testimonials are a good way to let people know that this is working and they're not the guinea pig for you. Okay. So let me share a testimonial in my example. And this is a real testimonial. And actually, this person that I share, she's my current client still. Okay. She said, I knew from the first time I met Marcy Barker that I wanted to hire her as a coach. Her approach to accountability coaching is unlike anything else I've ever seen out there. It really gets you thinking about your short and long-term goals in a way that breaks them down to make it doable and not overwhelming. Marcy really cares about the success of her clients. She is brilliant at masterminding with you to help you get clarity on what direction to take your business. My productivity also increased by over 40% while going through her program. I loved working with her so much that I hired her again to take me through my next big goal. So this is really cool, because social proof, I didn't have to tell you how amazing I am. Like, I am on my podcast, but I did not put these words into my client's mouth. She's sharing her own results. And the important part about sharing testimonials and social proof is that your potential clients need to see themselves in the solution. They need to see that there is a way for them to get out of their own mess and into a place where they feel supported and they have clarity, and there's actual proof of them taking action on their goals. All right, the next one, point out your USP. USP stands for unique selling proposition. So this is what is very important to show what you're different. And now in some industries, your USP is going to be a personal characteristic. Like for me, I'm a business coach. I don't have to convince people that business coaches are necessary, but I do have to convince people why I'm a better business coach than the last one they just heard about. Okay. There are some products where you're like, I don't even know who knows about the solution. It's not a very common solution. So I have to convert somebody to this idea first. But your USP is what is going to help put that little dot in your client's mind of like, oh, this is different than everything else that I've heard. So my example is, I'm your loving kick in the pants. That is a very unique term that I haven't heard anybody else use, and that's because I came up with it. Kick in the pants is a very common expression, but putting loving in front of that, that's not that common. When people think of kick in the pants, they think of somebody forcing them to do something. But loving is a term that I put into my nickname because my clients were telling me I was loving. I did not believe I was loving. But my clients, they defined me like that. And that is a very, very definite approach to how I do things. And it is very different than other business coaches out there. Next, you have to highlight trust. Now, this is something that, again, is going to be different for your niche or your industry, because some industries on their own are trusted, like, and some are not, like a cleaning service, okay? When somebody is thinking about hiring a cleaner, they're automatically going to worry if their stuff's going to get stolen. Like that's just, that's just the truth. So highlighting trust, you have to make sure that in your words, there's a sense of who you are and what people can trust you for. So if you have credentials, offer those. If you have high profile testimonials, share those too. So this, for me, because my industry of business coaching, a lot of people have been burned by that. And I understand that. So a lot of my proof is in my group photos, because I am very good at creating a community. And what's cool about my group photos is you can see some of the same faces in multiple photos, which tells my reader or my listener that I have people that come back for more. And that means that I have earned their business, I have earned their trust, and I am somebody that they can depend on for a long period of time. Next, you have to have urgency and FOMO, which means you have to give them a reason to act now, because if you're gonna sit around and be there for them next week, that gives them a reason to put it off. So urgency and FOMO with my own programs. I have different offers or bonuses for getting in now, but I also do programs only twice a year. So the urgency there is like, you need to get in or else you're gonna have to wait a whole 6 months to do that. So urgency and FOMO, you have to think about what's something that's time sensitive that you need to put in there in order for people to take advantage of right now. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is addressing objections. And this one is super important. And some people call this objection handling. Like if somebody throws something at you and you're like, I don't know how to deal with this, let me handle it. Objections, really, if you can bring them up before your client or your customer does, then it's going to ease their doubt before they even realize it's a doubt. So here's an example. What I would write in my content that converts is, high performers just like you are short on time, which is why the mastermind will help you get rid of time wasting activities and help you hire out with trust. So that's one example. I told you that this was going to save you time before you had a second to think, I'm way too busy for this. I'm way too busy for this. So putting the objections up front is a good way to minimize those before doubts get too big and before they become too big of a problem. And next, okay, there's just a couple more. Stick with me. We're doing good. All right, added bonuses. This is very similar to urgency and FOMO, but added bonuses, this is where you get to highlight different aspects that are on your solution that maybe haven't been there in the past. So if somebody's been looking into you for 6 months and then you pop up in their feed again and they look at your stuff, your bonuses are a good way to highlight how things have progressed and how things are different. So here's an example. As part of this round of the mastermind, there is a retreat happening in the spring available for the next 5 people who enroll. So my favorite thing to do is add retreats because those are a lot of fun for me, and that definitely helps me fill up my programs, because a retreat is not like an online program. Like there's a certain number of beds and we will run out of beds, unlike running out of spaces on a Zoom call. Okay. Next, you have to check for emotional niching and connection. This one I should probably do a whole podcast on. Honestly, emotional niching, when I learned about it, it like blew my mind. So in short, check for emotional niching and connection. Oh my, I don't even know if I can do that in short. I will read you this section. I'm not going to try to explain it, but if you guys are interested in this, head to my website and put in a topic suggestion for a podcast if you guys want more of this. But in short, check for emotional niching and connection. Your page must continually speak to your ideal client. If they view money in terms of business growth, then make sure you include how they feel about their current business success. If they are wondering how to overcome challenges as a parent, then remind them that this stage of life won't last forever, but the impacts will. So whatever is on their heart and mind, you have to address that. You have to keep it at the forefront to remind them, I understand what you're going for. Okay, last 2. Frequently asked questions. This also is not necessary, but if you are the kind of person who gets a lot of questions, you can add a Q&A or an FAQ on your website. And for people like me who will read everything, people will click through the Q&A and find out more information. And this is also another good place where you can put objections. So consider adding an FAQ if needed, or go back to your page copy and ensure you're answering all their questions and objections along the way. Lastly, we have a final call to action, or a CTA. And this is throughout your entire page, you should have different buttons where people can take the next step with you, but at the very minimum, you should have a call to action at the very end of the page, because if somebody like me read through the whole page, then when the page is over, it's time to make a decision and to start to do stuff. So an example is, I like to put, we're waiting for you, apply now. And that's for my mastermind. But keep in mind that your page can and should include a few calls to action, especially one at the end of the page that gives the reader a direct call to action. This is your last chance to get them to act if they haven't already clicked a previous call to action or left the page. So This is a long podcast. I want you to know that if you get the audiobook or the ebook or the physical book of Becoming Boss Minded, you can go back into the story and just double check that your page has all of the information on it. Now, if you are creating a landing page for a new product, this can feel like a lot of information, but I want you to know that if you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, it's much better to have too much information, because when you go through the page and you have people look over it, it's always easier to cut things out. Just like I said, writing a book, you're going to write a whole lot of stuff and then some of it gets cut out because it's irrelevant or it doesn't hit where it needs to. And I would rather you go through the whole process of making sure you have all the pieces and then cutting it down than to leave it very vague and it just not convert for you. So if you have questions about this story, or you want to hop on a call and I can help you troubleshoot where your gaps are, your bottleneck, or you even want me to look over a page and give you some feedback, I'm more than happy to do that. You just have to head to marcybarker.com and click on Chat with Marcy and you'll get all the details that you need. But for now, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. Thanks for tuning in, friend. If this episode gave you value, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone in your circle who's ready to wake up, show up, and grow their business without sacrificing what matters most. When you do, you're not just helping them, you're building your network of like-minded leaders. And I'll say this plainly, leaving a kind review matters more than you know. It helps more people find the show and it keeps the momentum going. So pause for a moment and please drop that review. Lastly, if there's a topic you want me to cover, I want to hear from you. Reach out, because this podcast is for you and I'm here to serve. Until next time, stay boss-minded.